Hello, Cheap Art here. Today we're going to be doing another toy unboxing. This time it's the Ghostbusters Ecto-1 from the original 1984 movie. Now this comes to us from Hasbro Pulse. This retails for $59.99. And it's not necessarily a Pulse exclusive. It can be found in other retailers like Big Bad Toy Store and Entertainment Earth and premium stores for toys and collectibles online, but you're not going to be able to find this at like a Target or a Walmart. This is a premium version of the Ecto-1, or at least it's advertised as such. This is going to be different than the $24.99 more retro style Ecto-1, similar to the Kenner style Ectos that are out there, completely available on the market at all retail outlets. So this comes to us from Hasbro Pulse. This is supposed to be, I believe, fitting their upcoming O-ring figures. This is a new line of 3.75-inch figures that are more akin to a G.I. Joe style figure, that they have the original 4 Ghostbusters in more posable type of actions in terms of having more posability, more points of articulation than your retro style figures. And those are meant to be for this Ecto-1. So I don't know why we get the Ecto-1 first before the O-ring figures, but I'm not really sure how Hasbro is really contemplating this line overall. Anyway, let's take a quick look at that box and then we'll rotate around. I am going to also end this video with some discussion about the future of the franchise, or at least the outlook based on the current box office of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which is just about to exit theaters as we discuss this right now. So looking at the box, you've got the Ecto-1 exiting the firehouse right there on the New York streets. Pretty cool render of the figure, render of the vehicle itself. Now, the style of the figure, I'm assuming, is supposed to give the look of kind of those weather jumpsuits that the Ghostbusters is supposed to have. As you can see there, that looks more like the badge that you see on the individual outfits. You see the Ecto-1 once again, along with the insignia. On the side, you get the front of the Ecto-1, and you kind of got like a mist, almost like a spiritual essence there in the background coming out of that main driveway. Looking at the back, you're looking at some of the features. It includes more movable parts, and again, this is more of a premium style version of this vehicle. You got the doors have these door handles and more paint applications inside, and you've got a full-scale gurney inside as well, and plenty of different types of wiring and stuff that you don't necessarily have on the retro Kenner style Ecto-1. And then there's the back, once again, with that misty kind of either the exhaust or just the apparitions that are surrounding the vehicle. Oh, pretty cool, guys. On the bottom, just your basic terms and conditions. So let's go ahead and get this open. I do want to point out that straight from Hasbro Pulse, damage on the box. So for those looking for something that's going to be pristine, you're not going to get it from Hasbro, at least in shipping. So let's get this open. Okay, so here we have the Ecto-1 at its full ghost-busting glory. As you can see here, this has more muted colors, more realistic colors than you would find in the Kenner style retro looking Ecto-1. You've got more translucent parts for the lights on the top. Again, everything's more muted. With the Kenner style Ectos, these are just painted gray, whereas here they are fully translucent blue, like almost like glass pieces to give that full look of glass. And again, all the parts, all the different paint applications here are going to be more than what you would find on your standard issue they can find for $24.99 and up out in stores. Now, pulling up the doors themselves, you see more paint applications on the door, along with different textures and rivets. You can tell there's different paint applications and further detail, all within the seat having textures, to the dashboard then itself having different colors for the different knobs for the radio and such. Now, going into the side door here, opening it up, you can tell some of the equipment that's inside. Plenty of different ghost busting equipment, crates, and different carrying equipment that they can do to do their ghost busting on site. I'm going to turn it over to if I can just close this door. There's a trick to these doors. You have to kind of like push them in. There we go. Before we go into the back, I did want to show the side here that, of course, with the Kenner one, you can't open this side door. You have to enter in through this side, but of course this door opens to give easy access to that driver's seat. And as I showed you before, plenty of textures all the way through the dashboard and such, right down to the different cranking of the windows for those older style 80s vehicles. Now, once we get into and you can see plenty of the wiring and such, everything has plenty of detail on the top that you're just not going to get from the Kenner style Ecto-1. Now, popping open the back, even though I've got very small nails, it's very hard. Popping open the back, you've got the full-scale gurney. And opening up the gurney, oh, almost dropped it there. You can pop out the wheels. And of course, you've got your full-scale gurney that you could put some equipment on for the Ghostbusters to put their proton packs on. So that's cool to have that little accessory. It fits right in the back. And as you can see here, further detail with everything painted. If you can get a closer look at the back seat with all the different equipment, electronic equipment, radars, things of that nature, all the different 80s looking equipment to give that look as they're about to go ghost busting and just go on some type of research expedition. Pop this wheel in the back. There we go. So not much other to say about this. In terms of cons, you'll notice when you take it out of the box, there is no stickers. All the stickers are on there. You're just putting a couple pieces in the top, and that's in some wiring for the antenna. The antennas have keep on dropping this. There's a couple of rivets on the bottom that make it a little bit difficult to plug these in because these are loose pieces that you have to put into the Ecto-1. That's the only difficulty in trying to plug these in and trying to assemble it. But otherwise, this is something that you can do within 5 minutes. But in terms of the con, some of the pieces straight out of the box felt a little weathered in terms of the plastic. So it's as if straight out of the box, it feels like some of the pieces are already weathering and won't last long. So it may not even last as long as your Kenner Ghostbusters Ecto-1, which is very disappointing. The largest con of all is the fact that this is meant for 3.75-inch G.I. Joe size figures because your regular Ghostbuster figure, your regular Kenner figure is not going to fit in here. This is going to be for something that can pose the legs, the arms, and fit in here fully seated with the legs crunched in. So those O-ring figures that Hasbro is planning to release for Ghostbusters are not yet out. And I'm not sure what the ETA is on that yet. But until that happens, there's not much of a reason to buy this for the exception of just display. Unless you want to put your G.I. Joe figures in here, it's just not going to fit. So that's a big con that maybe if you're on the fence about this, just waiting for those O-ring figures to come out, and then you can actually fit your Ghostbusters figures in there without any problem. And I will say one other big con, no lights and sounds for $60. I mean, you can buy the Play School Ghostbuster Ecto-1, and that has lights and sounds, and if you're finding on sale, pretty comparable in terms of pricing, and that's probably one of the better options in terms of buying a fully functional Ecto-1. But with that, let me do a little bit of comparison and then talk about the kind of the franchise future. So here are the Kenner and the recent premium figure from Hasbro Pulse side by side in terms of the different releases, this being the Kenner, this being that Hasbro Pulse release. As you can see here, this one is actually taller and bulkier, but as you can tell, less paint applications. This one's for the this is for the Frozen Empire release. For Frozen Empire, of course, you've got the stripes that go straight to the front, but if I am going to be spending money on something, it's going to be, unfortunately, it's not going to be this one. It's going to be the Kenner one. If I can just buy one, and I actually now have 4 of these, because I can fit my figures in it, the colors pop, and this is good for display, but if you're only going to display 1 or 2, it's going to be the Kenner one, because that one has the most curb appeal, and you can fit your Ghostbusters in there, because he's not going to fit in there. And that's a big bummer, but hopefully when those O-ring figures come out, I might change my mind. It might be worth displaying it. But again, if I've got a choice, I'm going to stick with the retro Kenner style figures. I'm going to stick with the retro Ecto-1. So I did want to point out some things regarding the current status of the franchise. As we're talking right now, Frozen Empire is just going to be a hair below $200 million worldwide. It might hit 200 million, but it's going to be very close at least. And at a production budget of $100 million, making twice this budget, that's going to be pretty near breaking even for its production budget. And while many will feel that that is a failure, it is not. It is, I would say, not meeting expectations for the studio, but that doesn't mean Ghostbusters is dead. Far from it. Of course, it doesn't make back its publicity, its advertising, its distribution, but you have to remember that these films are long-term investments. Even Last Action Hero went into profitability over the years. Now with Frozen Empire, it'll probably make profitability within its first year of release. You're going to have streaming, you're going to have television deals, and you have the merchandising. Even though Hasbro is probably not making great money off of this, I'm sure the studios are making enough off of it to continue the IP. You've got the video games. All that comes into play with respect to the profitability of this movie. Digital sales, Blu-ray, to some degree, of course, that's highly downgraded at this point in terms of the money that comes from there. But you have to imagine it's probably going to accrue at least another $60 to $80 million just within the next couple months from those different aspects, maybe more, maybe over $100 million. Even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which came out last year, was one of the most profitable movies last year at an overall worldwide box office at about $180 million. It had over $205 million worth in profitability. And I expect with Ghostbusters, it's going to make it into the green very shortly, if it hasn't already taken into account merchandising. But given that, I do think that the lack of interest, lack of expansion in the audience is going to hurt it. And I think that looking at the Spangler family and the current continuity, I think that is done with. You can have the franchise continue with cartoons. You can have the franchise continue in video games. And you can even have the movies come back in a different form. Maybe some type of spin-off. I don't think necessarily an international version is really going to be something that people cater to, but I do think that there is going to be a change in the franchise from the Spangler family that we've had for the last two movies. So not a failure, just didn't meet expectations, but I'm sure this isn't the last of Ghostbusters, and I do think that an animated series definitely is still plenty profitable for them to continue with. Maybe a live action series, maybe something, maybe something to continue the franchise in some way or form. We are going to get it. This franchise is not dead in any shape or form. It's just going to be a different pivoting from what we had the past couple of years. So that does it for me, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Who are you going to call?